You are listening to episode number 7 of the VIP Collective. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the VIP Collective. You guys
Thanks for having us.
You guys are VIPs, so
Yes.
I'm very excited to have you. Now, for people who are watching and listening, Lexi McKenna and Beckee Kavanagh from Paper and Poste.
Hello.
Hello. Say hi.
Hi.
So why don't you guys give a bit of background on Paper and Poste's stationery?
Yeah.
Wedding stationery primarily. And so why don't you guys give a bit of background about your start with the company, and then we'll go into individual stories a little bit on the design front.
Okay. So Paper and Post started at the tail end of 2010. All through college, I actually worked at a place called the Paper Place on Queen Street West that's still there. And the owner of that store, Heather, and I essentially sort of came up with the idea of Paper and Post because there we sold DIY supplies for make your own invitations. And we found we were really turning away the people that wanted to pay you to do full service invitations. And we thought this is a niche market. Maybe we should, capitalize on the fact people are already coming into the store. And I had also just graduated from graphic design school. So I was looking to do more than just work at the store. So essentially we sort of came up with Paper and Post and opened up a little space around the corner in this little tiny, I don't know,
shoebox.
500 square feet, something small,
Cool.
where Paper and Post was born. So essentially, once that started, we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We just sort of, that first season, we actually did the Wedding Co show, and Catherine really sort of helped promote us. She let us have a full booth, with no clients yet, which essentially brought us, a lot of work right away. And then quickly after the first couple of months, since Heather was mainly focusing on her store, I realized I needed help. So we got Lexi in as an intern and essentially
Started from the bottom.
Yeah, got her as an intern, and then essentially we just kept growing, and she became part-time and then graduated and became full-time. And then fast forward to 2015 or the end of 2014, when essentially between Heather and I, we decided that it would make sense that since Lexi and I were mainly working in the business mostly, that we would sort of take it over, and we bought it from her, and the rest is sort of history. Yeah.
So that's what it was. It was you came in interning and then worked way up.
Yeah,
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, I quickly, quickly realized that we needed a second person to, with the amount of clients that we were getting. And she just fit in really well right away. And then when the opportunity came up to buy, essentially I just sort of knew I wasn't going to do it without her. So that's sort of how we decided we were going to go for it. Yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Lexi? How did you start designing?
So I went to Ryerson for fashion communication. So it's so funny because my friends who I met there are now all doing some are photographers, some are stylists, some work in magazines. It's such a broad program. But we all had to take graphic design, typography, digital illustration, all that kind of stuff. And then I found that was really what I was, far more than fashion. That's what I was interested in. So any sort of internships, I just kept seeking out anything that was graphic design based. I actually found, this is hilarious, I found the Paper and Post internship ad on Kijiji. And then
For fun too, not for school.
Yeah, I think I'd completed my hours by that point, but I was I probably should get an internship in something.
Initiative. I liked that.
Initiative, yeah. So, and then the ad came down. I couldn't find it again, but I remembered how to contact them. And anyway, contacted them, said, I can't find this ad anymore. I hope you're still looking for an intern. They're like, yeah. And so I came in, met with these guys, did a design challenge that we still make our interns do.
Really? I like that idea.
Yeah.
So I had to do sort of a mock-up wedding invitation for a fake couple.
Cool.
And then came into work every day with Beckee, and now Beckee and I see each other more than we see anyone else in our lives.
More than our husbands.
Yeah. Your work wives.
Exactly.
Oh,
for sure.
Totally.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So it's funny with the intern, doing the design challenge, because I was also thinking for editing purposes and in video, it would be cool to have an editing challenge, because it's the best way to figure out whether or not the intern is on par with you, and
Totally.
if they're trainable kind of thing,
and
right?
capable of doing the same aesthetic that your company already has.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, at the time, maybe we didn't really have a paper and post aesthetic yet, but over the years, like Lexi and I's design style has become paper and post design style in our brand. And so that's why it's really important when we get anyone new working for us that we have them do like a fake couples invitation and like see how they can interpret it and basically make sure it looks like what we would do, because that's what people are paying for, right?
Yeah.
That's
why
a difficult thing to teach and unteach people. If
Yep.
a designer comes in with their own style that they're very set in stone, it's like their thing, they know how to do really well. It's really difficult to pull them out of that and make them see it from our perspective. So if we've ever had someone come in, which we have, which is now why we have who's working for us work for us, and just knows that, and so their design challenge is like, this is what a paper and post design looks like.
Doozies.
We have had some doozies. Yeah.
Like some people that interviewed really well and we thought we would hire them and then saw what they did and we were like, oh my goodness, thank gosh we do this. Like,
it's hard because, like, you know, art's so subjective, but at the end of the day, we are designers who are creating a product for someone who has a very specific idea of what they want, and if you can't do that, then
and it's brand development, because you guys are
absolutely,
you have like a specific style where you want everyone to fall in line with that. As soon as someone says that they don't want to or shows that they can't, then it's kind of like, so do you prefer starting with interns who come in fresh, or have you found that people are moldable?
Yeah, no, they're definitely moldable. I think we don't really do interns anymore just because, like, when we've needed people, it's been for hire. Now at this point, we have our core team of 4. That's a mouthful. That essentially like has rounded out. Anytime we've needed any extra help now, it's mainly for like assembly and stuff, which is like, it's hard to get an intern in just for that, to do the grunt work, the boring work.
So you guys have 2 girls now. So you guys are obviously owners, and they're working with you as designers primarily.
So Caitlin has been with us now for like, is it 3 or 4 years?
Wow.
2016.
I mean, it's probably 4. I feel like she's been here for a long time. She was back in the
started as an
shoebox
intern
space before we moved on up to our second space on King Street, and now our other space in
so this year, because I was off for a bit because I had a little baby, Caitlin really stepped up, and essentially we promoted her to our studio manager and like senior designer. So she's been with us for, I feel like it's been 4 years.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anyways, she's gonna be like, it's 4 years.
Yeah. She's like, I've been there 7 years. What are you guys talking about?
So now, like, she's always been a big part of our business, but now she has like the title, and like we really have noticed that she's stepping up and like is invested in it, which is like so important to a small business, is to have people that work for you that like care about it as much as you do. And then for about 1.5 years now, we've had Rasa with us as well, who was straight out of school. So we talked about it a lot, and a lot of people won't hire students straight out of school, but we thought, like, we were there once. Lexi came right out of school to us, and look how it worked out. So she actually was an illustration student, so she's any of the hand painted stuff you see us do
she's our
a lot lately is Rasa. And she's so talented, and so she's a full-time graphic designer now with us as well for the last 1.5 years.
But it is interesting. I mean, like, there's a lot of, you know, background stuff that Beckee and I know about and do that they don't, but at the same time, like, our day-to-day job descriptions are still very similar, just because there's so much work to go around that if we just had one person doing appointments, just one person doing designs, for example, it just wouldn't flow with with the way we work. So you know, if you're coming to paper and post, you might get me, you might get Beckee, you might get Caitlin or Rasa, and we make sure, like, when we talk about how we don't really have interns do design work, it's because there's a level of service and and product that we put out that we need to trust wholeheartedly in our staff that they could do the job just as well as we could.
That was my next question. Like, how do you guys divide up kind of tasks and sales or meetings, or is it kind of like you're all kind of in it together taking on different roles, or is there one specific person that's doing
like I usually, like, you know, so the difference between us and a lot of industry people is we can do like 10 weddings on one weekend. So like when people reach out and they think like, oh, I need to secure you for this date, you know, we can do every wedding in Toronto that weekend because invitations are not the day of, right? Like, yes, we do day of stationery, which is another beast, but essentially, like, we don't need to be there on the day.
We basically never turn down a wedding.
Yeah, for dates.
Okay.
So essentially, like, when somebody books with us, like, I'll look at it like, oh, does Lexi already have 3 weddings that weekend? Maybe, like, I should meet with this person. Or, like, if it's a planner, I meet with more and we just jive better, like I'll do that meeting. Or if like, you know, if it's a really high-end wedding, like maybe they should meet with one of the owners, like things like that. But it's really just kind of like, who did the last appointment? It's your turn. Like, unless we feel like there's a certain person that would work better with a couple.
I
if
think
we know
relationships
more about
with
them.
planners are huge for us. Like we rely on them as much as they rely on us to like make sure that, you know, we get the clients exactly the level of product and service that they're looking for. But that's a big thing, I think. Maybe our only real stipulation with like trying to organize things well with appointments, like Beckee was saying, is like everyone's got their own relationships with different planners, and some we're like really tight with, and some others of us know better. So we feel like, you know, they're gonna have the best experience with the person that they know really well, and so that kind of plays into it too.
But then also we want to make sure we don't pigeonhole anyone, because like when I was just off for 5 months, like there was planners that I worked with a lot that needed to start working with other people too, right? Because I wasn't going to be there. But yeah, all planners I think know us all, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 4 of us in a relatively small space. If you send an email to info, we're all seeing it. If you come in to pick up an order, we're all there. So.
What year was Paper and Poste established?
So 2010, the fall of 2010. So like really like 2011 is when we sort of launched. And then we took over at the end of 2014, and then 2015 season was when we sort of, there was a lot of things we had to do to sort of change it a little bit. It was a little bit at a standstill, I'd say, and it was mainly because there was just some extra, you know, work that had to go into like strategizing, changing, like how can we see sales? Like we were not doing well for a long time, and that's part of the reason like Heather was like, okay, like, do you want to do this? Because like I'll sell it to you if you want to.
And of course she has one successful business, right? Now two successful businesses.
Oh yeah, she owns Curiosa on Queen West as well. So like she just didn't have time, right? And like at the time, like I was the manager of it, but I didn't own it at all. So like I was like, how much more work am I going to do without any sort of investment in it? So that's how that happened. And then Lexi and I basically were like, hey, like, you know, we need to do this and this to like increase our sales and to like be bigger in the industry. Like at the time we had like under 1,000 followers on Instagram, and we have almost 16,000 and that's in 4 years. But like we knew there was a lot we had to do, and like we had to personally invest our time, and the way we were going to do that was by owning it, right? So that's sort of, it was a big thing for us to decide that we wanted to do, and that's how we knew sort of that we wanted to be in this for a long time. And when it was offered to me, I remember I took my husband out for dinner that night and told him, hadn't told her yet, and I just was like, do I want to like do this forever, or do I want to like quit, and do I want to like, and Paper and Post will be done and we'll just finish up the weddings and be over, and I'll go work at a design firm 9 to 5, like have awesome benefits, like what do I want? And then I was just like, I couldn't picture not doing it. And then so she came in the next day and I was like, sit down. I have a proposition for you. And she just was like, jaw dropped, okay, let's do it, right? Wow. So that's sort of how that happened. But that's, I think in the moment, both of us knew like, okay, this is life changing. Like it's going to change our lives and we need to like decide we're going to do it. Totally. And we have a lot of work to do to make sure it works.
Not only is it a commitment to like, you know, pushing the business forward full time, but it's also a commitment to each other too, right?
Oh,
I was being proposed to that day almost.
Oh, yeah.
Like, honestly,
our lawyer basically said our shareholder agreement is more binding than our I
felt like you're going in there sounding like a prenup that day, but it's true, like, and that's something too that I think Beckee found over the years. Like, we're very different people, and we both have a different skill set from each other, which plays well together, and you don't find that a whole lot with people you also like to hang out with. That was a commitment too, just being like, are we in this, and are we in this together? Because it's not like we're, you know, I think a lot of like professional teams, I would say, start out as friends to have come up with an idea, try to do it together. Like Beckee was my boss when I first started, and so, you know, we met each other on like a professional level, and then kind of like grew into a friendship from there, which is really interesting. But sort of to go all in on the business, then to go all in with each other too.
You kind of need the 50-50. Like you want to be friends because you're obviously spending so much time together, and then you also want to have different skill sets where you guys are both have strengths in like different areas.
Right?
Totally.
I'd say when our employee Rossa started, she had us do a personality test because she's obsessed with stuff like that. And the one I got and the one Lexi got, like literally it said that like they round each other out. And essentially like she's he's my husband and I'm her husband in terms of personality.
Yeah, it is funny when you compare, like, Becky's like, I can't believe you have me all day and then you go home and then you have Jeff all day. It's like the same person. Yeah, so it is funny in that regard.
Yeah, but totally, like, if we, it never would have happened if we didn't get along the way we do. Yeah.
So what was, like, the heads down moment? Like, so obviously you guys decided you were going to do it.
Yeah.
And then it was like you went into work the next day. And did you find that you were working, like, 15-hour days to make things happen at the beginning? Or did you guys set a plan
I feel like Beckee in the very beginning. So I actually, like, legally became an owner a little bit later on.
I forgot about that.
Yes, because it feels like forever, right? So a lot of the initial investment to keep the doors open and to keep things running were on Becky's side. So I feel like a lot of that additional, just like trying to figure out how, like, the back end of, she was doing a lot of back end business work for
like I'm the books,
and
she's
stuff.
the, like, front of house,
like, so she there was a lot of that, but in terms of day-to-day client work, I kind of feel like we were taking that on mostly 100%.
Nothing really. Nothing changed really, other than the fact that, like, we had a bank account we needed to make sure we could pay ourselves.
It became a lot riskier and a lot scarier really quickly, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
That was the biggest, like, a mental shift for sure. It's like we're doing a lot of the same work we're doing, and we're still like, we're both hard workers. We try to hustle no matter what, but just the fear of God's put into you a little bit when you're like, oh, like, if we don't have business, like, this is our lives that now.
And it went, like, it was really hard to go from, like, working for someone for so long to, like, being your own boss and, like, changing your mindset. Like, we're still working on that. We look at each other and be like, wait, like, it's our decision. We can do what we want, right? Like, it's hard. We're still in, like, an employee mindset a lot of the time. Yeah. And so we've really tried to work on, like, no, you have employees. You can make decisions. Like,
and I think a lot of that, when Beckee went on mat leave for, like, the short period of time, she did go on mat leave this year, because you never really go on mat leave when you're a business owner. But I think only until then did I think we, like, start to see that, like, okay, like, things can go on without us a little bit.
That's a good point.
Yeah, totally. Because I feel like, I used to get questions from friends all the time being like, so how often do you work from home and how often are you at the studio? I'm like, I'm in the studio, like, 5 days a week.
It is my home.
Minimum 8 hours a day. And then maybe sometimes I take my computer home. Like, I think sometimes we're like, oh yeah, like, if we wanted to work from home, I guess that's something we could do, right? But it's
hard though, because we have a service product based business, right? So sometimes, like, you have no choice, you have to come in, and then sometimes literally I just need to do design work all day and I want to be left alone, so I'm going to do it on my couch. Because I don't want everyone to ask me a question every 5 seconds and clients to call me and all this stuff, right? So we try and balance it, I'd say.
I think that's something we're only getting better at now, though.
No, we're the epitome of, like, the boss that's there every day. There when you get there and there when you leave. I think we've just finally started taking a little bit more liberty on that.
Totally.
Which is good.
It's
excited.
funny to get into that mindset, though, when you leave, like, an employer. And you're like, all right, this is what I'm doing.
Well, and we didn't even have that, like, physical leaving for a long time, right? So, like, we were trying to make a mental shift with being in the same, like, we just came back to the same place of work the next day, but all of a sudden we just had a lot more responsibility. So it's not even, there wasn't even, like, a physical shift in, like, leaving a space, going to a new space. But that when we did leave our first space and go to the next space, that was also a big moment for us too.
So after about a year of us taking over the business, we realized that, like, the space we had been in was too small, because we did hire Caitlin, and there's 3 of us where in the space where the meetings were being conducted, and we were all working. And so we quickly realized, like, we can't stay here much longer, but, like, the rent is super cheap, like, maybe we should, but we need to figure this out. So that's when the guys at 515 were like, you should come to the Toronto Carpet Factory buildings. Like, essentially, this is a great community, and in those buildings are so in high demand that, like, you have to know somebody really to get in. So they put in a good word for us, and they found us a home in there. It was just one big open room, which worked for about a year. And then we quickly realized we needed some separate rooms to be messy, to be productive, to have meetings. And so then we moved within that building, within the one next door, about a year later. Now we've been there for almost 2 years. This September it'll be 2 years, and it's about 1,000 square feet, production room for the messy. You can close the door. We have our own little office, and then we have our meeting area.
That's perfect. I was in there at Christmas.
It's worked out really well.
So that's it. We do find that we've finally, like, found our home. And it definitely, like, when we decided to move, like, shortly after we had bought it, it was like just like these really important big girl steps we were making. And like we never knew if it was going to be the right thing. I was just going to
say, I feel like every time we like, went to a new space, we're like, can we like handle this? Can we afford it? Can we do this? And then at some point we're just like, I feel like everything else we do, we just jump blindly and see where we land, and everything's turned out okay so far.
It's a bad model.
I know. It's like probably not how you're supposed to be like making your business decisions, but
if you don't make the decision, if you teeter on the other,
every big decision is scary for sure.
But every big decision had to be made because we needed more space to hire more people, and to increase your sales, you need more people, and so
And the challenging thing with the wedding industry is that, like, it's not like you have a product, but it's not like the product is being sold like continuously. It's something physical. It is physical, but do you know what I mean?
But it's not like a retail space.
A retail product. And so like, it's like, well, how many weddings will come in? It's the same with everybody in the industry. It's like, how many weddings will come in 2020 and 2021? And so like, you just kind of got to keep grinding your ass
I know. I feel like for a while we both were very much like, oh, like we don't know how like known we are, and we don't know how like we had to have a few key people in industry tell us that we were like bigger than we thought we were, if that makes sense. Like we essentially like made a decision to like stop doing some shows, and like when we made that decision, it was very scary because we were like, well, that's how people find out about us for that wedding year. But then like a lot of planners that we were able to just like ask, no, like people already know about you, and we're like, oh, they do? Like we didn't know that. It's hard to like toot your own horn, right? So that was a big change for us when a lot of them were like, no, like, if that's what you want to do, and I feel like you'll be fine. And that was really reassuring because we have been fine, I feel, since stopping to do some shows that just take up a lot of time and energy in a season that is very busy for us. Like we're opposite of all the other vendors. Like our busy time is winter? January to October.
Really, honestly, like over Christmas, like it's nice because we get to we shut down for like a little bit, and we get to take a nice break, and that's probably the only time during the year where people aren't.
Especially with all these November weddings and stuff. But like people do. So if your wedding's in the summer, you do your invitations anywhere between January till like April, May, because they go out about 3 months before. They take about a month to 2 to create. So like invitation season starts literally. It's 2019. Hi, I'm getting married this year. Like and then come like this time of year, we're still doing invites for like September, October, November. But there's also day of stationery starting.
What is day of?
So day of is like any paper thing you see at a wedding.
What's the biggest wedding you guys have printed for?
Ooh, like size-wise?
I think
like
so.
People?
Yeah, people.
Oh, like...
We were talking... I remember doing table numbers, I was saying the other day, for like 60-plus tables once.
Which would be like 800 people.
Yeah, maybe and I believe it took place at a... like a conference center, like a very,
that's
very
the only
large
place I can fit.
Yes. And that was wild. So I remember we did their engagement party, which was really, really cool. It was like a comic book theme, and that felt like a wedding. That party felt like a wedding. And then when they came back for their actual wedding, I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't have this many Facebook friends of strangers I don't even know, let alone people that would come to a wedding. This is wild.
I know. So, but like that's pretty abnormal. Like on average, we do like 150 to 300 person weddings.
Yep.
That's like that. That's the normal, I think. I feel like that's what we're usually around for.
Totally.
We get to, we don't physically work together.
Yes.
But we have a lot of
the same
weddings together.
Yeah. It's exciting when we do get to work together on creative stuff.
I know.
Yeah.
How cool is it when a bride comes in and they're like, okay, wait. I'm going to rephrase that.
Okay.
Do brides actually come in and give you a bit of creative freedom and just say, these are the colors, like make us something?
Sometimes.
Or do they kind of have an idea? Or is it just...
Like, that's happened once in a blue moon, but usually, like, in a meeting, we still, like, narrow down what they want, even though if they, like, say they don't know, they know.
Yeah. Like, they have some kind of idea.
If we show you 5 things, like, you're going to tell us what you like and what you don't like, so that already narrows down. Gotcha. But, like, I think people are open to us, like, pitching ideas, like, especially with planners. Like, the clients that have a planner that basically don't want to shop around, they just want the vendors to, like... they just trust them to like propose them things. Those are the ones where we feel like we can have a bit more creative freedom, but we do have parameters still.
Yeah.
Never have we ever been like, I have this really wicked idea that goes nothing with your wedding, because everyone still has like a theme of some sort, right?
Yeah. They can say go nuts and like do something crazy and fun, but then if they're having a really like, conservative wedding and everything is really formal and black tie, we're not going to give you something insane and
something crazy.
Yeah. So the things that we have been able to be super creative on is more style shoots and stuff, even though there's still always a theme and color scheme and stuff for that. I feel like our own stuff, like my wedding was before we bought the business, but her wedding, like my baby shower invite, stuff like that, stuff for our friends, like even the one you did for your friend recently, like basically like that's when we have a bit more creative freedom and actually we can do what we want, which is fun. Yeah.
But it's also, there's something really fun about hearing people's ideas, and it's really difficult, I think, for a lot of clients to describe verbally what they want visually. So that's basically our job, right? Is to try and translate and decipher interpret what they want. And so it's really exciting when they give you like a hint of something, like a seedling of something, and then you take it and then they're like, oh my God, I love this. This is like exactly what I wanted. But like it took, you pulling that out of them to figure it out.
Yeah.
I saw recently, this is a bit of a side note, but I saw recently you had done an image for the Raptors or something. Did you draw that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That was
fun.
Yeah, just cool. For fun. Yeah. Like, you always see like shared images in support of stuff. And I was just like, had this idea. And I'm like, I wonder, like, and that's kind of illustration I don't get to do very often. Yeah. So sometimes you just want to do something as a creative outlet that isn't necessarily tied to client work.
Lexi and Caitlin can paint as well, but I think not as like accurately in a portrait style.
A trained like traditional artist, so it's nice to have her on board.
So I think that's fun for her that she right out of school is getting to actually use her illustration skills, which is a big part of why we did hire her. So I hope, I think she does love the fact that she gets to do that.
Was that something that you guys proposed to her? Did she come to you and say, what if we did another arm of the business and I can do this?
We could see in her portfolio when we were interviewing her that she had a lot of hand painted stuff, and we saw that she went to Sheridan for illustration, which like anyone who is sort of like in an art scene knows that that's like a phenomenal program. So off the bat, we just knew that she was a fantastic artist. We'd seen some of her work that had like people in it, I guess. But it wasn't really till Ellie came in saying, I want to do like a portrait of us in the middle, and we're like, Rasa. Sounds like amazing. A Rasa job.
And it was a little backstory with Rasa. So Steffi from 515 went to Sheridan too and said, hey, like my friend is straight out of school. Like I feel like she'd really like suit your guys' aesthetic. Mike then emailed us, hey, like Steffi has a friend, you should check out her stuff. And then essentially we were like, okay, we'll interview her. But it sort of like spun into like, maybe we should interview more people because we're notorious for just hiring the first person. Sorry, Caitlin. So essentially.
And we're so lucky we did.
No, I know. Yeah, she very much worked out. But so we like put in all the work about advertising that we're hiring and and we promised ourselves we're going to interview at least like X amount of people and we're going to do second interviews for X amount of people, and Rasa quickly became one of those people. But like a big thing for us is like her portfolio, like she deliberately before she even met with us did an invitation that looked like something
very much like
we would already sell.
Very smart.
Yes, smart girl. And then she did the challenge too, and she did that amazingly as well. So that's sort of a big thing that set her apart is like we looked at each other and we're just like, okay, like this thing that she did before we even asked, we would sell as our product. So like that's our answer.
Yeah.
So winner.
Yeah.
It's funny because I actually Joanne's working on my team as an editor, and she came from Mike at 515. So Mike is hooking us all up.
That he changed all our lives.
Got us into the building, got us Rasa. But you know what? That's like another, like, how great is that network of friendly, vendor support. Like it's gotten us a great designer. It's gotten us into a building that we really want to be in. So
it's like it's a small community, but it is also a big community because I feel like a lot of times you're hearing like more names than you knew before. Totally. Right? Things are definitely changing. And I had Tara McMullen was in here recently, and she was talking about how the industry used to be so small, and she was naming like back in 2008, 2009, 10, just how there were like a handful of photographers that you were kind of your go-tos, and then just how it's evolved. And a lot of that happen with social media, essentially.
Totally.
Because
100%.
now you have a free platform to advertise all your work.
Oh, Instagram has been such a game changer,
Yeah.
and I can take very little credit for that because I'm the worst at posting photos.
That's not your jam?
You know what? I like editing them and taking them sometimes, but like I'm just the worst at like a scheduled, like we're like, using it as a marketing tool. I'm terrible at.
Yeah.
But luckily, Caitlin and Beckee are very good at that.
Yeah.
But that's been a game changer for us, Instagram.
It's free advertising.
Yeah,
it's like literally, and like when people book with us, they fill out a questionnaire and it says like, how did you hear about us? And like literally 90% of the time it says Instagram.
Yeah.
But do you run ads on Instagram?
Not
Have
often.
you been doing that?
We've run a couple ads.
I do sponsored posts more than I think. Yeah.
See?
Like probably like once a month.
Yeah.
Like if there's one that I know it's like a big wedding, like if it's an NHL wedding and like now it's been blogged and we have the ability to post the photo, like sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes like if it's one that's just getting a lot of likes and I just like want it to be seen more, I'll do a sponsored post, but I always cap it. I always do $20 for 3 days. And then that's it.
Just a little
We're
boost.
getting bigger, but we're not
Just a little boost.
Yeah, just a little boost. And then I also find it funny though sometimes when like it's very interesting how the algorithms work, because like sometimes I've already liked it and then I get it as a sponsored post and it makes me mad because like it's my personal page, sure, but like I'm like, why am I getting a sponsored post of something I already liked? Because if I click that, that's going to cost me money, like as the business owner, right? Because that's the whole point of it.
But
so
they haven't figured that out. They haven't figured out how
to. I don't know how it works, but it just, that annoys me. But essentially, like I do see like anytime we do them, I do see our followers increase a little bit. I do see like the likes obviously increase. So and it's hard, I think, in this industry in general with being a wedding vendor, because you get the people that follow you religiously for that year that they're getting married, and then seasonal like followers. Now they're married and they're like, oh, I might unfollow now because I don't want to see any more invitations. It's like stopping watching Say Yes to the Dress or whatever once you're married, right? Or once you've bought your dress, because it's like, I don't want to see anything else, right? And so that's a constant struggle, I think, for everyone in this industry, is keeping those followers. And so we try and post like fun stuff and traditional invitations. Like we do both, but like we try and keep it like colorful and bright and like so
our
people
Instagram's
will
kind of
stay.
taken on, like has helped dictate our visual brand too, because like that's basically what most people see. Like some people may never they go to our website to book an appointment, but like in terms of like that's basically our portfolio. So we're really specific about how things get laid out, how things get edited, so that our grid represents our brand, each individual thing represents our brand, our captions represent our brand. It's a really, really interesting concept.
So you mentioned NHL wedding, and so which one was the first one that you had done?
Like first ever?
Do you remember? Or okay, well, which one did you feel like when you got that you were like,
Katie
oh, this
Greg,
is
that what I'm thinking of?
Well, I don't really know any of them. I just go home and I say to Pat, I'm like, so and so apparently he's an NHL player, and he'll go, yeah. And so like I think now we've done like over 20. Like I don't know,
I
like
joke
a
that
lot.
we're like the stationary sponsor of the NHL,
right? But it's funny because they all know each other, and then they're all from here. All the like wives, they've all been with their wives since high school. They all use the same vendors. Like I'm sure we've done the same team multiple times, right? And
it's just a trust thing. I think when people are having a really, really big wedding like that, and spending a fair bit of money,
and they all know that like we don't care who they are. Like we've never treated any of them different. Like we never even really meet the guys. Like we just meet the wives,
unless they come in for eating,
right? And like I don't know, like I literally couldn't care less, right? Except, and then my husband will just ask about it because he thinks it's cool. But so we've done quite a few of them. They're great because they just trust their vendors. I feel that's why they hire who they hire. They all have decent budgets, so we can do really cool stuff.
But was there a moment when you had an inquiry for one, or you had booked one and you were like,
probably
damn, this
way
feels,
back in the day,
like it felt exciting because they were at another level almost?
Like I'd probably say Corey Perry's was the first one.
First
it was just like an exciting feeling, right?
Because that one was like in between, like I did their save the dates during when we didn't own the business, and then like their invitations when we did, so it was like the first one where we like it was like so like our company already, and then Shay had brought them to us, and that was the first one where like Pat was like, no, he's a big deal. I was like, oh, cool, okay, cool, awesome. And they were sweet and nice, and
we did have hockey wives come in and shoot an episode of us one time.
Really?
Yeah, and then we never ended up on the episode.
It
was really funny. They came in one day because I can't remember who was engaged. One of them was engaged looking for invitations. So they shot, like an appointment. So Beckee and I are like, maybe we should double team this one. We never do appointments together.
Yeah.
Brought in like some flowers to the studio. And then we messaged them after and we're like, can you let us know like when it's going to be on? We'd love to like post it on Instagram, let our followers know to watch. And they're like, I'm sorry it didn't make it into the episode.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they didn't and she like seriously wanted to order invitations from us afterwards. And then basically she didn't. So I think that's why I didn't get it. I think their wedding ended up
married in Montreal.
Yeah. Like it ended up not being Toronto based. And I think they just filmed here because it did film here. Right. But yeah, that was funny.
But that was the moment where we're like, oh, this is amazing. Paper and Post is going to be on Hockey Wives. And then.
Do you have have you been on TV? Any shows or anything come in?
I don't think so.
That was the one.
Not yet.
That was it. That was our claim to fame. I left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, but like I think that's okay.
That's very okay.
Yeah, we're not really interested in that. I don't know, being on TV.
We're scared to be on camera.
Yeah.
As you're in front of 3.
Yeah. Even though we do feel like we could have like a really juicy reality show in our studio sometime.
I think every vendor could probably like there could be like a book written about like secrets of the Toronto wedding industry or something.
Yeah.
Does it get really stressful sometimes? Like, are there some moments that kind of...
I think like to bring back to the point where like we can do multiple weddings a weekend. Right. Like at any given time, like each of us could have like 20 to 30 clients on the go. And all of those clients obviously only care about themselves because it's their wedding and they're excited. But like, I think they don't realize how many other people we're working with. So like, you email someone, they email you back right away. And then like, if you don't answer them right away, they'll be like, oh, like, I'm just following up like 3 hours later. And it's like, well, you're off my list for today because you can wait till tomorrow. And I have 30 other clients. And so that's when it can get stressful.
Yeah, just sheer workload can be a lot at some points of the year.
Yeah, because we, again, don't cap clients, right? So like at any given time, we could have X amount of clients on the go, even though it's divided by all of us and we help each other out. But like sometimes one of us is way more busy than the other. And then like, believe it or not, but Lexi and I sit there and seal envelopes. Like just because we own the business doesn't mean we're not doing all of the work, right? So our own clients were like putting the envelope liners in, we're stamping them, closing them if they've paid for that service. Like, I don't know. I just think from our perspective is like, we just want to oversee the entire thing with our client if they're our client, and of course our girls will help us and we'll help them, but like we don't just hand it off to somebody and hope that they do a good job. Like we see that from beginning to end. And so there's when I have my accounting I have to do, but then I also have to assemble some envelopes. It's like a weird balance, right?
Exactly.
Lick an envelope.
So I think we're just like jack of all trades, I would say.
Do you think you want to expand the team moving forward, or is it like what kind of growth are you guys thinking about?
I think we do want to expand the team. Like as we said, like the workload, even just with 4 of us, is quite a bit. So in terms of just like being able to take on more, like we need more people. It also means that we could, have more opportunity to span out and branch out into different areas that we want to when we have more people. Like there's tons of things that we've thought about doing, including like maybe doing some online sales, maybe having like a different offering so we can be accessible to all kinds of different brides. But we can't, I don't think we can do that with just 4 of us in the space that we're in now. So that will take a little bit of growth and time to get there.
Are you guys technically international? Like, have you done?
You
can do anywhere, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of U.S. clients that find us through Pinterest all the time. Like invites from style shoots end up on Pinterest and like go viral. Like we've had one that went like so viral that we've done it so many times. Two actually, that we just do all the time. And
there was one that was like such a hit with like Australians. Like all these people from Australia.
It goes through phases. It's like the photos circulates in different countries, and we all of a sudden get like a ton of inquiries from that country like within a month span. And then like recently Martha Stewart Weddings posted something we did like ages ago that like we just isn't actually possible to do. It was for an editorial and like we were kicking ourselves that we did that because of the amount of inquiries we have. But like, why is something like that being asked about still? Like that's crazy. And that's the power of the internet and Pinterest. The free source that gets everything around the world. But we work with people from like a lot of our NHL clients don't live here, so they're we have to navigate that. A lot of US clients still come to us, which is funny because actually I guess they get a better deal because it's Canadian dollars for them, but we work with a lot of US clients. whether they're getting married here or not. We do have a lot of couples that like live there, but like they grew up here, so their weddings here, their families here, and that's why they use us. Not really Europe, but like a lot of Australia and Greece and stuff.
In Europe, but in terms of where the customers are based, a lot of like North America.
But everything's on like via email. Like our whole design process and proofing process is via email. Like a phone meeting is fine too. So like as long as you're cool with not seeing stuff in person, we can work with people from anywhere.
Which is pretty easy, like to get a digital file.
Yeah,
totally. And just to prove that.
Oh yeah. And like,
so we've like never, I don't know what they look like. We've not met them. Like it's very interesting to have like that relationship with someone for months, because that's how long you're working with them, and then you send them their stuff, they love it. Great.
And it's cool because like obviously where they're from, there's people that do what we do, but like they've seen something we've done that they just have to have,
right?
And so they go to us. Like they could easily take a photo of it to another company and say, can you do something like this?
We appreciate that they're not doing.
And like we wouldn't do that copy someone's work, but I know there's people out there that would, so who knows, I'm sure it happens, but also it's just nice that they still want to seek us out.
Is there anything that's like, is there trends in stationery? Because you said Martha posted something that was from years ago. So does it kind of like come in waves, or is it just like what people are feeling at the time? Or
I think like we laugh all the time. We're like, remember when like purple and gray invitations were like all we did?
Yellow and gray.
Yeah, like color trends are very interesting because it feels like everyone does the same thing all at the same time, and then all at the same time moves on to something else. But in terms of like stationery specifically, I feel like as we said, like these custom portraits we're doing right now are, because we've done one and now we have someone who really excels at it. So there's that. In terms of like widely based stationery though.
But like I feel like even in the past few years, like watercolors really become a thing. Like, a few years before that, like foil printing wasn't as hot as it is now. And we thought that was going to be a trend. And then of course it's like stayed. Like stuff like that. We just, I don't know. I feel like there's not like specific trends though. Like it's not like there's a pattern trend, or there's like it's quite broad, but there's also like if we get one more blush and gold wedding, like that I don't think will ever go away. But those are the types of themes that are hard to like translate into print, because like blush you can't read when it's printed, so really like you have to figure out, okay, is it gold printing and then blush accents, so like an envelope and blush and liner, that sort of thing. But that's the one that I think will stay. I think
we love, though, when we get to do these creative shoots, that we get to try and set a trend almost. Like we get to do something that we've always really wanted to do, and hope that other people will see it and be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So as Beckee was saying, there's one that we did that has now been duplicated so many times.
What was the name of it? Was I there?
Majolica.
No.
It was sort of loosely based on like a Dolce & Gabbana pattern that we then hand painted and made into everything, stationery, backdrop.
And it was like a crazy color scheme, like blue, red, and yellow, like primary colors, which like is never a thing. Like you wouldn't think that would look good, and somehow the team made it look amazing. And that invitation we've now had to. Caitlin always jokes she's the Majolica one, because every inquiry she fields it, and then she's done it like 20 times.
She's like, if I do one more Majolica, she's like, I'm passing this one off to Rasa. We're like, do it.
You guys should take bets before every creative, just to see which one's gonna.
It's true.
Like, I think this one's gonna take off.
See how actually, totally. I think recently, so I wasn't around for the last round of shoots, but one Lexi worked on. Was she there?
I think I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen you guys.
That invitation set, I think people are gonna love, and I think it's coming out soon, right? So
the Woodlands one.
Yes. Woodland Grayish.
Yeah.
Like we had a sample in the studio, and I already had somebody order the save the date.
Really?
And it hasn't even been printed yet.
I feel like it's a nice combination of existing trends that I know people are really into right now, and just like exactly how we would do that trend. So I'm excited to see it all.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it in print, but soon.
Very soon. Lovely. And so a couple more questions for you. One about going back to growing the team. So like, when did you realize that, like, now that you have two girls working under you guys, when did you feel like, oh my God, we're leaders, we now have to like, really take care of a couple people, and like,
I think we didn't really feel that way until Rasa came on.
Yeah, I feel like when there was the three of us, with just Caitlin, it felt we were more like we were a little tripod, and it was great. But as soon as like, there was someone now under Caitlin, it was very much like, okay, there is a divide there. Like, but we don't even make it that way. It's hard to say, but like it was easy to remind ourselves that like it's our company, like we have employees, like I feel like that's what it really started to feel that way.
And I think not until we had Rasa did we realize like we should probably get some like real systems in place here, because we often said, you know, like when Rasa came on, we made sure that we had some training implemented and that kind of thing, which wasn't really stuff we did with Caitlin. So Caitlin kind of just like figured it out on her own. And it's hard when like, you know, Beckee and I had been working together in a single room for so long that it's like we know what's up, and sometimes we don't know what we have to it's just so ingrained in our brains. We can't think of every detail that we need to teach someone, just because for us it's just like, oh, this is just the way it's always been. So with Caitlin, I feel like she got the shit end of the stick a little bit.
She figured it out.
She figured it out, and she worked really hard. And but when Rasa came on, we were like, okay, like let's put an intentional effort into making sure that like she's trained correctly, and we have some systems in place for her.
It's only going to benefit us.
Exactly. And then they're able to train when you bring on more people. It doesn't necessarily have to be you guys. So you have bindered systems or your digital systems?
We did come up with like everyone's got a little do-a-tang. There's some important info in there. Don't know how many people read it, but it's there. But yeah, like her first week, we tried to do some like specific hours, like focusing on specific systems and that kind of stuff. And she had something to reference when she was getting started, which is good because we had nothing for Caitlin to reference. So every question she had was a verbal question to Beckee or I, whereas now it's just like, it's in the book. Check the book.
And I feel like that's just benefited all of us.
Somebody who's starting a stationery company, or maybe, you know, they're a designer, they're just getting out of school, they're super into it. What kind of advice do you have on a design front, and then what kind of advice do you have on a business front? If they're like, you know, I think I want to start a business, what's your first piece of advice to say to them?
That's a loaded question.
Well, so we do have that unique situation where like starting our business was sort of like funded by someone else, so we're lucky for that, because like the initial investment is such a big part of it for people. Even if you have a great idea, like if you don't have the overhead to back it up, you can't really do it, right? So, you know, we were lucky that when we bought the business, it was established, really. We just had to do some changes. But I would say design-wise is like, you need to do something that sets you apart from everyone else out there. Like, there's lots of stationery companies in Toronto, but I feel like we all have our own specific style that like, that's why there's like, you know, there's business for everyone, because if somebody comes to us with a picture of another stationer's stuff that is nowhere near what we do, we would just say, hey, like this looks a lot like something this person would be better at. Like we're not going to go out of our comfort zone to produce something that like we just never would. Like we're just not like that. I don't know.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. Like I feel like the key to us growing and becoming as popular as we have is having a very specific style that has just happened to resonate with a lot of brides in Toronto. So I think that, you know, developing your own style and having something that doesn't look like every other thing you've ever seen on Pinterest can only
you have to have a reason for people to seek you out, right? So if you have this thing that they can't get anywhere else, then that's why they're going to come to you. And I'd say like starting the business side of it, like I said, we were established, but like we also kind of weren't. Like we have grown it a lot since we took over, and like there's things you just don't even think about. Like when I had to incorporate the business, I had to like, you know, we collect and pay HST, like all these like big things, because we've now grown to the size that we are, just like all these things that people don't know, like how are you going to pay yourself, like how do you pay your employees, like taxes, all this stuff that you just like don't know exists, if you want to grow your business to a point where you have to charge those things. So that's something that like she's like woo, and I'm like don't worry, I got it.
And that's good.
Thank goodness.
That's key.
Exactly.
We're both artsy, then
you know? No, for sure, 100%.
But like in terms of promoting us in like in print and in like see, I can't even talk verbally, and in writing, that's her wheelhouse. Like she's a great writer. Literally, she finds a spelling error in like thousands of words. She'll find the spelling error. Like she just, that's her, like, you know, and I'm opposite. I have no interest in that, and I miss all that stuff, and I don't want to write anything. And that's why it works really well. So, you know, a lot of times people would say a partnership doesn't work because you can like butt heads. And, but if you do want to start something with somebody, I think it helped that we grew to know each other through business in the first place. And we didn't start as friends. Like now we're very close, but like, I think that's a recipe for disaster sometimes, because
just because you're good friends with someone doesn't mean they're the right business.
Just like roommates.
Yep.
Do you want to live with your best friend? Probably not.
Totally.
So basically, like that's something that we figured out fast that we were compatible in that way. Because most people would say don't have a partner. Most people would say do it for yourself. But like I don't think either of us could physically do this.
No, I don't think it would be what it is today without the two of us combined.
Yeah. And like I would never have been able to just have a baby, and I took 5.5 months off, and you know, my husband's now off with her. I would never have been able to take a year, but like the fact that she even like understood that I needed to have that first 5.5 months was like, I'm so lucky. Like, you know, so we basically, I think advice would be, if you're going to have a partnership, find the right one.
Yes.
Because
don't just
doesn't work for everyone.
No,
more or less.
And it's funny because I think a lot of people, you know, when they start doing something and it's just for fun, they don't think about those things because they're like, oh, this will just be a side hustle or whatever. But it's like,
term,
you don't know, like this could become a full-time thing, and then you're essentially married to this person too, right? So
don't take it lightheartedly. Think about it.
If you're gonna do it, I would say like do it. There's, as we said before, like there's a lot of jumps we've taken without knowing where we're going to land, but you just do them because you have to just keep moving forward. And so you kind of have to be all in if you really want to do this full time and be successful.
Totally.
You can't really, if we, you know, strayed away from everything that sounded risky, then we probably wouldn't even still be doing this.
I do hear of a lot of stationery specific people and other things doing it as like a side hustle and still having a full-time job. I feel like depending on if you want your business to stay this small, then that would be fine. But if you want your business to grow at all, there is no way you can't be available to people 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You know, and basically like I feel like you're setting yourself up for disaster by doing that. Financially, understand, but I also think that like in order to, you have to invest completely in something if you want it to go anywhere.
100%.
And if you're doing it part-time, you know, there's a level of clientele that you will get. You know, people that maybe are happy to wait longer for their designs, people that are happy to pay a little less. But if you're looking to achieve like the level of clientele that we've been, you know, we've worked towards getting, those people have very high expectations, those clients. They want a lot of your time. So they're not going to understand if you have a 9 to 5 job and you only get back to them at 8 o'clock at night.
They want to come into your space. They want to see your space. They want to see you're in a cool building. They want to see who you've worked with and who your vendor friends are. And
so it depends. I guess it's whatever your goals are, right? Like if your goal is for this to just stay as like a side project where you do like however many jobs, like as few jobs as you want, and remain kind of there, that's great. But if you want this to be a real thing, then I feel like you need to commit wholeheartedly.
As soon as we like fully committed, it's when we saw change. I'd say.
For sure.
Yeah.
That is great advice, ladies.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
I think it's great.
Yeah?
I think it's right on point.
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Cool.
You definitely have to commit, and especially doing a side hustle. You can do a side hustle for so long and then you have to make the decision.
Because you're only giving 50% to both.
Right? And what is it? You shit on
and
the pot or whatever?
You know,
get off the pot? I don't know. You just kind of got to go for it.
Anything that you're doing as a side hustle is in your free time. And if you like something enough to be doing it in your free time when you're not at work, you probably like it enough to be doing it full time. Right. It's just a matter of like taking that step, which is always scary.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good way to make sure that the market decides that they like what you're doing before kind of like you do it, right? So you get some second side hustle going on. You're getting business, and you're like, oh, I think people actually want what I'm creating. Now it's time.
But I feel
if
like
you're not making sales when you're doing it, then you better like
totally
do a rejig of what you're doing and make sure, you know.
Because you can't underprice yourself, so you're basically doing it for nothing. But I feel like even experience is like so huge. So like you see all the time the classic working for a planner, under a planner as an assistant, and then hey, now I have my own company and and like all the power to them. They've decided that that's what they want to do, and then they want to work for themselves, and we've only seen success with any of those people. And
it's a
so
good way to train,
maybe it's the same thing. Like maybe you're working at a graphic design firm and you're like doing promotional materials and it's basically invitations just for like different things. And, you know, maybe you dip your toe and you know that you like that. And then that's when you start branching out and deciding to do it for yourself. And it helps when you're like of the age where people are getting married, because then you can do your friends' weddings.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you know, I'm basically going to do it as your gift, or here I'm going to design your invitations for free and you just pay for the printing. And then now you've got a portfolio, because essentially like you can, like, you need to start somewhere. Yeah.
You guys are happy,
yeah.
passionate, and lots of fun to be around.
Paper people.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last question is that you have to actually ask a question for either future guests, which was done, or brides.
What is your biggest like tactic for work-life balance? Because I feel like that's a really difficult thing in this industry specifically, because we all have clients who want us around the clock
on their time, which is not everyone's time.
And as Beckee mentioned before, like if you're getting married, you kind of feel like you're the only one in the world getting married, understandably. So I'm very interested in knowing how other vendors within the same industry,
especially when they don't have an office like we do. Like we have an office, a studio that we close. Like these are our hours. Like sometimes, like, you know, if someone emails me on a Saturday and I can give them the answer right away, I will. But I also don't want to set that precedent.
Yeah, I'm interested to know what other people are doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So,
but I think that's like the price you pay to own your own business. It's privilege and
there's
curse,
no 9 to 5
right?
anymore.
Yeah.
No. That's what you sign up for.
Yeah,
totally.
Well, thanks for signing up for an episode.
Thank you for having us. This is so great.
Yeah, it's been super
thanks
fun.
for having us.
And thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Corinne.
And we'll see you soon.
Yay.